What's happening, guys? This is the Steve and Crypto Show, brought to you by thestevestrout.com.
I'm Steve.
I'm Crypto Zoo. We want to thank you guys for listening. Hope you're doing well in these COVID times. We appreciate you keeping up with our show and just sticking with us. We are on episode 18 now, I believe. So
sounds about right.
I think
something like that.
So episode 17, our last one, featured Addison Benick, and we spoke to him about his newest feature, Psycho Ape. And it is a B horror film that you can find right now on Amazon Prime.
And you can also purchase it directly from Addison or search Psycho Ape on eBay. You could grab a physical copy there as well. But yeah, man, it was a fun movie, good horror comedy, and very much in the vein of like trauma films, even though it's not a trauma film.
Yeah,
make that clear. But it's that kind of goofy, crazy, gory nonsense that I love personally.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's bananas, man. So if you go into it with the right mind state, the right setting, maybe a little inebriated might help as well. You'll have a blast. It's really fun.
Don't expect right now we're going into award season. Don't expect to see Psycho Ape nominated for any like fucking Golden Globes or any of that stuff, but it's good. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
And we really enjoyed hearing about the process, of how the whole thing was made and all the little bloopers and there's things that you'll have to just go and listen to the interview and you'll you watch the movie and then you'll appreciate it a little bit more when you're like, oh, okay, I heard how they made that or how many bananas were used and, or whatever. If you're into the creative process of a film, then I definitely suggest you go back and listen to that episode.
And actually, if you're into that kind of stuff, you're going to dig this episode too. We are going to be discussing another indie horror film called Intrusion Disconnected. It's written by Craig Everett Earl, who is one of our guests today, on this episode, whatever day it is it comes out, we'll see. And we're really excited to have the star of the movie, which we think is perfect because it's Women in Horror Month, and she pretty much is that. Like, she's a brilliant actress that you should know about. If you don't know about her, I feel like she's like that one big role from being a household name in horror. Katie Stewart is her name, and she's brilliant. Like, her acting is just good, and just she is a great dramatic actress, but she's also a badass and does a lot of her own physical work in the movies. And she'd be really scary too.
Yeah, she's really convincing, man. Like, not every film can pull you in and make you feel for characters or kind of make you put you in their place, or not every movie can pull you in like that, or every actor or actress can pull you in, but she does it very well. So I'm definitely gonna have to go back and check out some of her previous work before this one.
Definitely. And, like I mentioned, it is Women in Horror Month. So I came up with a crazy idea. I'm not too sure Crypto is super keen on it, but I was like, hey, we're putting this episode out. I want to put out another episode this week to feature some creative women that are kind of working in horror, maybe artists, another actress.
Oh, definitely.
A writer. Like, it's going to be a big task. Hope we get it done. This episode is going to come out, but my goal, I really want it out before the end of the month. It's just been a crazy month. Like, I don't like to bring outside stuff and like work and stuff into the show, but it's been, my work schedule has been like all over the place this month. So it's kind of we haven't been really on a normal schedule with the show and recording and everything. So it kind of pushed this back a little further than I wanted it to. And then I realized how late in the month it is. And like, oh shit. So I'm going to be Superman this week and make this happen.
Well, yeah, I can't take any credit for the editing when it comes to this show. That's all Steve here. So, at this point, until I get my my old computer into working fashion, where I can do some things on my own time. But at this point, Steve's the man running all the editing and getting the episode out into everyone's ears. So, you're the man when it comes to that, man. I know you can do it.
I got this. It is Women in Horror Month, which I think they should be celebrated. These contributors that I'm talking to, setting up this week, they definitely deserve to be celebrated this month and every month. But I really, it'll mean a lot to me to get this episode done and out.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I mean, there's a handful of very popular women in the horror genre, horror and thrillers and whatnot. Jamie Lee Curtis's and Elvira's, yeah, all the legends. But these that we want to showcase now, Katie, who we are speaking to on this episode, she could be a future scream queen. She could be a future icon, and they all have to start somewhere. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis had to start somewhere. So, just make sure that you give these up and comers a chance, and don't push them away just because you're not familiar with them. I mean, you weren't familiar with the icons that you know and love today, but you had to give them a chance at some point, right?
Yeah, and you mentioned horror icons in this movie we're going to be discussing in Intrusion Disconnected. Tiffany Shepis is in it, who is a icon, scream queen. Like, she's so well known. She has a little role in this movie. And so it's pretty cool. I mean, this movie got a big name attached to it. And when I heard about this movie from Craig Everett Earl, the writer, he reached out to me to tell me about it and was like, yeah, we have Tiffany Shepis and this and that. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe we could try to get her to come on. And then I watched the first Intrusion movie and saw Katie Stewart's work. And I was like, wait, hold on. I want her on our show. Like, I love Tiffany Shepis. She's cool. She's awesome. It'd be an honor to have her on sometime. But no, we need Katie Stewart on to promote this episode, to promote this show. And so we made that happen. So that's cool. Hopefully you guys dig the chat with those guys. And if you dig what we've done up to this point,
then you can find us on Buy Me a Coffee. We're now featured on the Buy Me a Coffee app, which is basically like a tipping service for anyone who's not familiar with it. So, if you've been listening to our show, you like what we do, and you want to help us out just to, help us continue to grow, check us out on Buy Me a Coffee, throw a little something our way, and every donation is very appreciated. It goes towards getting new gear for the show, new merch down the line, all kinds of different things. It basically overall just improves the show and has we want to have a better listening experience for you. So
buymeacoffee.com/Steve Crypto. And another cool thing, if you guys head over to Fright Rags, you can use our discount code. It's Steve Crypto 10 over at Fright Rags.
That's right. They've been bringing you the best in horror apparel and accessories since 2003, offering a wide range of products for your favorite creature features, slasher flicks, cult classics, collections from John Carpenter's Halloween, Universal Monsters, Night of the Living Dead, Creepshow, Twin Peaks, Evil Dead, so many more.
So this month they are releasing a lot of good collections, including some new Garbage Pail Kids line, Twin Peaks, and more. And it's all officially licensed and available now at frightrags.com. And like I mentioned, Steve and Crypto listeners get 10% off when they use the code SteveCrypto10 at checkout. And what do you say we get to the conversation?
I'm down. Let's go. Let's get it going.
Hello, this is Agoro, host of the Agoro Show, and you are listening to the Steve and Crypto Show. So keep your ears open and your mouth shut.
Hey guys, we're here on the Steve and Crypto Show, and we have some really cool guests today. We are joined by Craig Everett Earl, the writer of the movie Intrusion Disconnected, and the star of the film, somebody who I think you guys should know about, or if you don't by now, you will really soon, because she's like kind of a badass, to be honest. That's the best way to put it. She's a super talented, and we have Katie Stewart here, who is, I think it's the perfect time to have a talented performer like her, especially it being Women in Horror Month, and she definitely exemplifies that pretty damn well.
Thank you.
So let's start with Craig. Tell us a little bit about your background in movies.
Yeah. Years ago, I started off writing short stories, wrote a book, finally transitioned into making films. We did that with the first Intrusion movie, which Katie Stewart also stars in that film with Lee Haycraft, and co-produced a documentary with a friend of mine, Johnny Daggers, called Blood on the Reel, that kind of goes behind the scenes and stuff of horror indie filmmakers and all the stuff that goes into it and the trials and tribulations and stuff. Johnny produced a lot of that. It's really good. Both of those are on Amazon Prime. You can check them out for free. And SGL Entertainment, you can go and check out their website and stuff, and pretty much all over the place. And then here recently, we released the sequel, finally, Intrusion Disconnected, where Katie Stewart came back with Lee Haycraft, and everything kind of goes haywire and crazy. And we really, I think, amped it up on every level, heading more toward like a mainstream type film. A lot more blood, kills, a lot more dramatic acting and stuff. And so far, it's been going really good, getting a lot of praise for it.
Good. Yeah, you guys definitely have the modern slasher vibe going. I really dig the movie. I really enjoyed it. It was
Thanks, I appreciate
really
that.
Fun watch. Yeah.
Thank you.
And honestly, like Katie, you really you're very convincing. So do you kind of get your mind ready when you have to like break down and cry on cue and become you're kind of like getting into a really dramatic scene? Is there a trick that you have for that?
No, there's not really a trick. I'm a very emotional, sensitive person anyway. But when it comes to filming the characters, I just really try to embody that character. And when it comes to a scene like that, where I have to cry, where there's something very dramatic or scary or whatever it may be, I just really imagine that this is actually happening, that this, this is real. I'm really experiencing this. If I wasn't, how would I actually react if this wasn't real? But the only way I can really seem to actually cry is to imagine that this is real. I have to completely 100% embody that character that I've developed and experience it as it's really happening. And therefore it's easy. It's pretty easy in that case to make the tears come. And writing helps too. If the writing is really good, it makes it easier the tears are easier to flow. So it's really just a matter of embodying the character fully and making sure that the writing is good and understanding enough to be able to let that out.
Yeah, and there was some days on set where you would use Visine or something to help out a little bit, but most of the time you were just like, no, I'm going to try to cry on cue. I'm just like, okay.
There have been times where I've used Visine, especially if it's like the 10th time and I just can't do it anymore. But
Yeah,
I've had a tendency, and Craig will also back me up on this. Usually when it's a scene where I have to cry or be very emotional, I'll tell them, don't rehearse it, film it on the first take, because usually the first take is where you're going to get the most emotion and the most crying out of me. So, and I know I've told Craig that before as well. So most of the time when it comes to scenes like that, they'll roll on they won't rehearse it first. We'll roll on the very first time, because that's usually get the best take.
We just completely drain you to the point you're just like, there's nothing left.
There's nothing left. I need Visine. Can't do it.
We need a bucket of water.
So have there been any scenes where you just couldn't bring yourself to play out a scene, like a kill scene or something that would just over the top for you that you couldn't do?
You mean that I couldn't cry, or that I just
that you just didn't feel comfortable doing, like a certain kill or something?
That I didn't feel comfortable doing? I don't think so. There have been scenes where I couldn't cry, where I just couldn't get into it enough to actually cry. And in those cases, we've used, like Visine or something. But most of the time, I'm able to cry. But as far as just being like uncomfortable with something, no, not when it comes to a kill scene or an emotional scene. The only thing that I've ever been like uncomfortable with and said, I can't do this, is where it comes to like a nude scene, because I don't do nudity.
Right. Or
if it's a love scene that is just way too graphic, then I'll say, can we tone it down a little bit? But that's when it comes to horror and murder and slashing and stuff, the more the better. Bring it on. I'm good.
Yeah, she's all for doing her own stunts and everything in the film, and sometimes she kind of worries me because she's just not afraid to do anything.
I have hurt myself. I can't tell you how many times.
She typically hurts herself though in like the most uncommon ways, because it's walking through the front yard or something, and she'll like hurt her foot. Or we had one scene where she really worried me, and I thought we were going to have to take her to the hospital, where scene where she was just backing up, and she backed up, I think, into a door knob or something, and we were really worried about your arm.
Don't remember. Probably.
You don't remember that? Yeah.
But yeah, probably that doesn't surprise me. I think I backed over the couch at one point and did a flip over the couch too, and about broke my neck.
You were just like, no, I just need some stuff to put on my arm. I'll be fine. And you were crying a little bit and upset and stuff, and I was worried about you, and you were just like, no, I'm good. I just need to cry for a second. I'll be ready to shoot here in a minute. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Wow. I'm guessing, Craig, you didn't vision having your lead character in a wheelchair in the movie at all. So it's a good thing that you're careful doing stunts. she actually, her first reaction, I remember she read the Intrusion Disconnected script, and because I knew what she could do after we worked on the first film together, and I said I'm really going to give you a chance to do some really intense dramatic performances and all kinds of stuff in this one, but you are in pretty much majority of the film, 90% of the movie, you're in a ton of scenes. And she read the script, and I said, so what do you think? And she said, I just want to know who's going to pay my hospital bills.
I did. I remember saying that. Yeah. There was a lot to it, and we had to tone down, quite a bit of what.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that we cut for safety, because I was actually worried, because it was the first time I'd actually written something where I felt horrible, and was just worried about a couple of things, and especially when we got closer to the end of the film, there was some stuff in there where you guys looked like the end of a Rocky film, where you guys were just stumbling around, and so much of the movie, we would use prop knives or dulled down knives and all this other kind of stuff and try to keep everything safe. But also when you're shooting a film in HD and you're having your own people do their own stunts, it's extremely dangerous, even if all the choreography is rehearsed and everything. So yeah, there was a couple points I was really worried. But luckily Katie and Lee and some of my other cast and stuff and my crew was just like, it's okay, we got it, but yeah, I was a little worried, but I'm glad it looks great. I'm glad everybody's okay.
So when doing your own stunts, I know you mentioned you probably got a lot of bumps and bruises. How many times have you accidentally popped your co-star or something?
Gosh. Okay. I did. I popped Lee in the nose.
You punched Lee in the face a couple times. I'm like, Katie, I'm like,
hold it back. It's not
we
real.
don't have to really punch him in the face.
I got him in the face a couple of times. There's one scene where I was supposed to slam down a stapler on his hand, but to not hit his hand, we were hitting like right next to his hand, and I actually hit his hand with the stapler. And I think the staple went into his hand because we had to take out any staples,
Oh, he didn't tell me about that.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything about that if he did.
Yeah. And then I've done it on other films too.
I've seen you do it and laugh though. I've seen you do it. You're like, ha.
I have accidentally hit people a couple of times. Luckily, I've never brought actual blood or tears because it was a clip. I think with Lee, I think there was one time with Lee that he was like, you actually brought tears to my eyes, because when you're working with Lee in particular on Intrusion Disconnected, in that scene where I had to actually punch him in the face, we were so close, and that was the only way, because it was such a close-knit shot, and the way that the angles were and the small amount of room that we had to work with, you couldn't cheat it a whole lot. And so we were very close, and I think I actually hit him in the face twice.
You're a professional though, because I've heard him complain about a couple other people hurting him, being a little too rough, and you guys have done quite a bit of physical stuff. I've never ever heard him complain.
The first one,
he must enjoy it.
Maybe he's scared to complain.
He must enjoy it as maybe
he's scared.
I was just thinking, Craig, are you paying his hospital bills too?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
He's pretty easygoing. Yeah. So,
but I have hit people a few times. I think I've kneed a couple of times. I kicked in the face once. But, I can't say that that's all my fault. I mean, we have our marks of where we're supposed to be. And if you just happen to put your face where my foot is going to be, that's not my fault, because I'm on my mark. Okay? I'm on my mark. You are not. So,
I got a good story that I remember. We were doing the first Intrusion movie, and close to the end of the film, poor Lee gets hit in the nether region a couple of different times. One with you, and one with the Faith character. She punches him, but the one that you did, where you come up behind him and he thinks that you got out the window, right with the leg. And we had our sound guy, Nick, who was really quiet, never said anything, really nice guy. And all of a sudden, Nick just starts laughing hysterically. He's like, wow, you should have heard that. But the horrible thing about it is, I was going to get Lee a cup and everything, because when you go to do that scene, it's not supposed to be in that area. So, but my co-producers and stuff were like, no, he's good. She's going to hit him here and all this other kind of stuff.
Well, and I did.
So, yeah.
I did the first couple of times. I remember I didn't hit him. It was all good. And then
I
actually nailed him on
Yeah, that one was
because he kind of moved as I went to kick him, and it was bad.
That was the one agreement that I had in his contract is I said no testicle shots in the next one.
But he kept going. We both kept going. And then as soon as he turned around, and the scene ended, we were both like, I was like, oh my God, are you okay? And he was like, oh. So I mean, like,
yeah, he was like, let me lay on the bed for a minute.
Yeah. I felt so bad, but yeah, I remember that.
Oh man, I'm sure he remembers it too.
He's too scared to face me though, so it's okay.
I get it. So, before we wander off too much on the bloopers and stuff, let's give us a little synopsis of the movie.
Go for it, Craig.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to do it or
you
I guess I'll do it since I'm the one that wrote it and everything, right?
That's...
we basically have the premise. Intrusion was kind of this it's kind of like a believable stalker film. You have Holly Jensen, and she's dealing with a lot of her drama issues and stuff with her boyfriend and all that kind of stuff. And she ends up making a prank phone call with her friend, is talked into it, and calls the wrong guy after he's just murdered his cheating girlfriend. And then everything kind of stems from there, where he decides to go after her friends and eventually come after her. Intrusion Disconnected, we kind of just use that as a springboard for everything, because you have the film basically start off with the final girl, and she's suffering from a lot of PTSD and stuff from the last film. She's broken at the very beginning of the film, going to see a therapist played by Tiffany Shepis, and trying to get on with her life and move on. And the eventual finale of the first film is kind of leaves the audience to believe that the killer is dead and everything's okay. And so Holly's trying to do that, but she knows kind of in the back of her mind, because of the way that everything kind of resolved, that she don't quite believe that he's dead, and she don't quite believe that everything is over. So she's suffering with these mental breakdowns and PTSD, and trying to get her sanity and stuff back. And then of course the killings begin again. So and then everything kind of escalates from there, because I thought it would be a lot more interesting to have this harrowing character that you're rooting for, but also broken, not at the end of the film, but the very beginning of the film, and to push that character even further into madness. Yeah, just
into madness.
I did, and then it kind of gives us a chance to play even more into all the dramatic elements of Katie basically having some amazing performances and stuff in the movie. I grew up, with films like the original Nightmare on Elm Street when I was 7, and that inspired me. Not because of all the blood and the murder and stuff, but just because films like that and Poltergeist and stuff were just so character based. And that's really what I wanted to go back to, was we have this wide range of characters and stuff in the film. Everybody from like age 9 all the way to people in their 60s, which is kind of rare for, a slasher film. So we have all these different characters and stuff, and I really wanted you to care about all these characters. And there's definitely a lot of murder by the time the film ends, but I wanted to make sure you were really invested in these characters, because that's kind of the love-hate thing that I have with horror slasher movies. Is it's gotten to the point now with modern day audiences and stuff, you don't really care about a lot of the characters in some of these films that you see, and you're just kind of rooting for the killer to kill them all off. And I wanted you to actually feel sorry for some of these people, because they're being murdered brutally. So but there's also this other side to the killer, where there's this interesting thing that I touched on a little bit in the first Intrusion, and go into even more here, where it's not necessarily a person that's good or evil, but it's what kind of developed it to turn them into that type of a person, where I think anybody given the right circumstances and eventually breaking down the psychosis and stuff in their head could send them over the edge. And so it's just Holly basically trying to hold everything together with all this murder and stuff that's going on around her.
There's definitely a lot of that. So Katie, you mentioned how you put yourself in situations for, scenes and stuff. Mm-hmm. How do you prepare to play the Holly character through the whole movie? Like it was like this broken character through the whole thing. Like, how do you mentally prepare in advance for that?
It's really about becoming that character. You have to step out of your real life and you have to step into the character's life. And you have to, by developing that character yourself, you get to also add even more backstory and even more other things that help really implant that character in your mind. And so you're no longer a character, you are that person. And so as long as you can mentally switch from, oh, this is real life, to going somewhere quiet and reading this and really imagining this in your head and really thinking, this is what's taking place. This is what I'm going through. I'm being stalked. My mother was just killed. My sister, my whatever, and really thinking about what that's like and what that feels like. I mean, that right there will start the tears. So that helps gets you into that mental state of being able to give that realistic performance. So it's really just being able to sit back, comprehend it, and step into that character and really be and embody that character. That's really what it is. That's what gives a believable performance. That's how you can tell the difference between, oh, someone's acting and damn, they're a good actor. There's a big difference there. And it's like somebody learning lines and then saying them in front of a camera, and somebody learning lines, really studying that character, developing that character. And you can't tell that person is not that character, that's not real life for that person. So that's what you have to do. You just have to really invest in it and become someone else.
You're very good at doing that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
And Craig,
I really do.
Sorry, just to rewind for a quick second. I definitely want to back up what you were saying about having the the viewer care about the characters in the film. You've done a very good job of doing that. I watched the movie at about 2:00 in the morning in the dark by myself, and was just trying to kind of keep it together when some of the victims are being picked off, because they're connected to the lead, and you're invested in them. As you said, you're really hoping please not them, there was definitely one that I'm not going to say that really was oh God, not that one, please. And
yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things that I did in there for shock value to get people's attention, but even more so, I tried to keep it realistic, because I mean, if that really did happen in real life, then there's some stuff in there that we break some rules for the horror genre and the slasher genre and stuff you're not necessarily supposed to do. But there was even a part, I won't say which you probably know what I'm talking about, specific character, where my director looked at me and was like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah." It's like, we got to do it, But
I know what part you're talking about too, because I remember saying something about it when I read the script.
But I'm not sad about it at all, because some of those actors, including the one I'm referring to and stuff, actually went on to other stuff since then, and that kind of started their career, getting things going with other projects. So,
well, I think personally, with the abundance of movies getting put out there, but very similar, not similar to this film, but in general, horror movies. I think it's good to have those scenes like that kind of pop and stand out.
Yeah.
Make you remember, like, oh no, like, why did they do that? But it sticks with you, and it's really what you want. You want people to remember your movie.
Well, I mean, also, especially by the end of the film, Holly, Katie's character definitely gets a little intense by the end of the film, and you have to be mentally in her head and see all the stuff she's going through and all the stuff she's lost by the end of the film to get her to that point where you're on the same page with her, where some of the scenes that happen get pretty intense and brutal and stuff. So you got to get the audience on the same page with that, because if you're in that situation, and you can mentally understand all of the stuff that person has lost, then it's a lot easier for the audience to understand it.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, if you watch the first one and then the second one, Holly, by the time you get about halfway through the second one, between halfway to 3/4 through the second one, she's completely different than what she was in the first film in general. Because like Craig said, you have to look at everything that she's gone through, all that she's lost, everyone that's died, and what is still going on. And then you also have the problem in the second one that she does, her inner demon feels like he's still out there, and nobody believes her that he may still be out there. And so there's all this turmoil in her head that's like, well, is he still out there? Is he not? Am I going crazy? Like, people think I'm crazy. There's so much that she goes through that I would feel like it would be hard, especially if you watch the first and then the second, that it would be really hard to not be invested in not only her character, but in the boyfriend's character, and even the killer's character to an extent, and I do feel like Craig did a good job with that. Craig also put me through Holly went through an emotional roller coaster in this one, a whole lot worse than what she did in the first one.
I sure did, yeah.
But I feel like he did a really good job of having you want to be invested in those characters.
Definitely.
Yeah, Katie is essentially made. I have some of my favorite final girls of all time, and Katie has essentially brought Holly Jensen to life, and because of Katie's performance, she has made Holly Jensen one of my all-time favorite girls.
Yeah, like really before we connected on social media and you told me about the movie and everything, I wasn't familiar with Katie's work, and so I checked out the first movie, and I was like, I like it. It was good. You told your story. You got it across. I mean, you could see you had like budget restraints and all that stuff, which comes with indie films. But
yeah, we all kind of learned our craft on that one, and learned what to do and what not to do, and learned from some of our mistakes, and kind of come really, really damn close with Intrusion Disconnected to getting almost 100% of what I wanted out of it. Just if I ever did another project, I don't think I would ever have an amazing cast and crew like I did on that film. Everybody's just phenomenal.
Right. But what I was saying was how she the difference between the first movie and the second one, obviously, it was a bigger production. You know, there was obviously the bigger budget, but she carried, like, the first film. I feel like she carried it in a way like that, like Caleb said, made it believable. Like, she was believable, and then it carried over into the second movie, and it's like, for her to be able to play this role, this is more of a compliment towards her. It's kind of like mind-blowing to for an actress or actor or anybody to play a character like that has so much drama and bad shit happening to them without breaking, and it went through 2 whole movies. And like, I honestly don't know what I'm saying. I'm just still, like, I just watched them recently, so I'm still kind of like wrapping my head around them, but I believed it. It seemed real. Your performance was real, and it kind of it was good. Like, I just that's all I can say. It was an amazing performance.
I started putting it out at some film festivals and stuff, so I'm really hoping that Katie starts to win some more, because she's already, I believe, won a couple Best Actress awards for stuff in her past. Yes. But she more than deserves it for this. So really hope that she's got a lot more stuff coming her way with more credibility and stuff, because, you know, words gradually catching on and stuff. And I'm, you know, hearing from everybody loves everybody's performance and stuff in the film. Haven't really heard anybody say they don't like anybody in particular as far as the cast and stuff go. They really like all our cast and stuff in this one. And we got some phenomenal people in this one. So many good actors. But yeah, Katie just completely, she kills it.
She blew it out of the water. Yeah.
Yeah. And especially with her being, you know, probably in about 90% of the film, she's almost on every page of the script. She's just amazing.
Yeah, like when you mentioned
a lot to memorize.
and you're really good too. You know, she'll sit there when we're doing takes and stuff, and somebody will forget their lines, and she'll have her head back and eyes closed basically, and they'll forget their lines. And you know, 95% of the time she's like feeding them their lines to them, because she knows their lines too.
Yeah. I do that a lot.
So basically, it was like when you were telling me about the movie, and you were like, "Oh, we have, you know, Tiffany Shepard's in this movie," and I was like, "Can we get her to come on the show?" And then I went and watched these movies, and I was like, "No, we need Katie on the show," because, like I said,
Tiffany at one point actually told me too when we were working on set. I mean, I was really flattered having her in the film and stuff too. And she's
like
great.
An icon,
yeah, and she's fantastic as Holly's therapist and stuff in the movie. But she flattered me a couple of times. One time because she basically said she decided to. I think she gets about 30 scripts a month or something, and she said that it caught her interest because she had a family member that actually did that exact profession, and she said she was impressed by the script and how much research and stuff I put into it, and how realistic and stuff it was with everything that was going on with the PTSD and the therapist and everything else, and how interesting and stuff it was. So I think it was at one point where I was actually cutting lines out of the script on set just so we could make sure to get everything shot. And she was actually like, "Whoa, what are you cutting out?" Like, she was actually disappointing I was cutting stuff out of the script, and I was just like, "Oh, you know, that's cool." And it wasn't even her scene, you know. But her and Katie did some scenes together, and she turned to me after it was over with and stuff, and actually told me, she's like, she's pretty good. So
which meant a lot coming from Tiffany, and I'll say working with Tiffany was great, and Tiffany and I still have contact every once in a while, but she's great. I just love her as a person and actress, but I mean, she's just a great person. But I really appreciate all of your all's kind words, and I take it to heart. I really do, because I have a bad habit of tearing myself down when I watch my performances. So which I think all actors do a lot of times, at least I think if you're a good actor, then you can tear yourself down. I think the day that you look at your performance and say, damn, I could not have done that better, then you're done, you know? But I really appreciate Ural's words and statements. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
I think that applies in like any creative, any arts, you know, like personally,
it does.
Personally, when I put the show together, once I got it edited and I put it out to the world, I don't listen to it. Like I won't listen to myself because I can't. I hate hearing myself.
I completely understand that. Yeah. I completely understand that with actors and stuff, because I talk to a lot of celebrities and stuff at film festivals, and you'll get quite a few of them that say they don't even watch their stuff after they do it because they feel uncomfortable watching themselves. They don't like watching themselves. And same thing with my writing and stuff. I'll write something, and sometimes I'll go back and I'm like, does that work? And I'm like, I don't know, and it kind of makes me cringe a little bit. And then with Intrusion Disconnected, there was a couple of things in there where I wasn't quite for sure about, but I've heard so much positive feedback about, specific things. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm glad I put that in there because that's kind of what I was going for. Because another thing I learned from working on the first Intrusion was how to kind of, I wanted to try to go between that line of both indie films and mainstream and make both people happy at the same time, because there's a lot of stuff that's kind of leaning more towards the mainstream crowd that I was kind of going for. But
I think you wrote that line pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Good. Between indie and mainstream,
Yeah.
I was curious, aside from Lee getting punched in the face, are there any like fun little bloopers or like outtake type things from the film that you can bring up? I know that there's a scene where Katie, you basically kick a camera. I'm not trying to say too much to spoil it, but later in the film, did you have a moment where maybe you kicked a little too hard and knocked it over, or anything like that, or anything funny that happened while shooting the film?
I think in that scene particular that you're talking about, I wasn't kicking enough. So I never kicked the camera that I remember, but I was going to kick it and I would stop too soon, and they would be like, no, you got to kick further, and be like, okay. So I'd kick more, and they'd be like, no, we still see your foot stopping. You got to kick even further. So finally, I think I ended up kicking like right next to the camera. And of course they cut it like right beforehand, but I ended up like slamming my foot down right next to his head. And I think it freaked him out because he didn't know I was going to do that. But I was like, dude, you kept telling me I wasn't kicking far enough. So I went all the way. But other than that, like as far as bloopers where stunts go, I mean, when there was one time when Lee stepped on my hand when he was supposed to like step lightly and he stepped full force. And I think there was a scream that was real. That was a real scream because it actually really hurt. And during some of our fight scenes, I mean, like my head got slammed to the ground a couple times too hard. And it was kind of like, oh, I see the pretty little birds flying. There was always some kind of a blooper when it came to the stunts. And of course, everybody forgets lines and there's bloopers at that point. But I think there's too many that I can't even think of any in particular right now that are a specific funny moment. Craig might be able to.
I get a little story. You're probably gonna kill me for this one though, because I've never told this live before. Yeah, probably. But basically, we were doing the first Intrusion movie. I don't know if you're ever going to remember this or not. It's been quite a while ago, but we were doing the first Intrusion movie. And of course, the last final scene that I think we did was the tub sequence, which was very dangerous because we had wires running all around it and all that kind of stuff, and was kind of nervous to make sure nothing went in the tub with you guys and stuff. You get into this huge escalated fight and all kinds of crazy stuff happens. And everybody was completely done, and both you and Lee are getting ready to get out of the tub and stuff, and glad that everybody's safe and it's over with and stuff. And you guys are both, of course, tired and stuff from all the fight choreography and everything that went with it. And they're picking everything up around the tub, and I can't remember who it was, but one of the crew was basically like, "Hey, hand me that wire." And you weren't thinking, and you're still standing in the tub directly behind Lee, and you're like, "I got it." And you like reached for it, and everybody on set goes, "No!" And you're like, "Sorry."
I vaguely remember that.
But that's just,
yeah.
It was just like one of those moments where, you were just exhausted.
I was just trying to help. I wasn't thinking about getting electrocuted. But
so there was almost no intrusion disconnected after that. That was almost literally the finale.
Talking about that particular tub scene, Craig, what ended up making it into the movie was actually a blooper. Because in the original film, at the end, which, I mean, we're talking about it, so if I give something away, it doesn't matter. But in the original film, when I'm stabbing him in the tub, okay, he was supposed to get stabbed a few times and die.
Yeah, right.
He didn't die. So I'm like stabbing and stabbing and stabbing, right? And I think he's dead. Like at that point, like he should have been dead. So I stopped stabbing. Well, he's still like, oh, blah, blah. And I was like, fucking die! Because he wouldn't die. And I didn't know what else to do. I wanted to say, dude, you were supposed to die like 30 seconds ago, but you're not dead. So I just yelled, fucking die, and just kept stabbing him. And none of that was supposed to be in the film. And that's actually in the film. That's how I ended up killing him. And the fucking die is in there and everything.
Are you sure he just wasn't trying to come up for air?
Maybe he was, but at that point he wasn't supposed to. He was already supposed to be dead.
He was
there is a scene. Kyle Cates, who actually plays Peter in the original Intrusion film, directed this Intrusion Disconnected. He directed the second film. He learned a lot on set. Went to film school, started winning awards and stuff, and just does an amazing job directing Intrusion Disconnected. But there's a scene at the end of the first Intrusion film where Lee that plays the killer walks over to Kyle, and Kyle's laying on the ground, and he kicks him in the head.
I remember that.
And then and I didn't write that. And after we got they cut that scene, Kyle walked over to me and he said, "Did you write an extra scene where Lee walks over and kicks me in the head?" And I was like, "No." And I said, "Lee, did you just kick him in the head?" And he laughed. He said, "Yeah." So I mean, there's little moments like that are great that I just love. I'm like, go for it.
There's moments like that in the second one too. I mean, there are bloopers and outtakes, and I can't think of what any of them are right offhand, but there are plenty of them in the second one too.
Right. Well, there's a lot of memorable scenes and stuff in both movies, but in Disconnected, my personal scene that stands out the most was, but without giving away too much, later in the movie when Holly starts seeing stuff and she finally snaps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Broken to just like this facial expression just changes to just done. Like you're officially mad.
Yeah.
Did you nail that in like one take? Just that change, or was that a tough one?
Actually, it wasn't a tough one. I don't think. Craig may differ. I don't remember, but as far as I can remember, if I'm thinking of the right scene that you're talking about, that was rather easy because that was a take that was a shift that I'd been waiting for through the whole thing. I was waiting for the the broken, the crazy, the broken, the crazy, the broken, to just like, all right, motherfucker, I am pissed now. And I was waiting that whole time for that shift. So I'm pretty sure that was nailed it in one take. Obviously, we did a few more to see if we could get something better or different, but getting that shift from going from broken to crazy to broken to, no, I'm not crazy and I'm not broken, I'm just freaking mad, was pretty.
Yeah, I recently, not too long ago, I've been working on stuff for the Blu-ray and the DVD and stuff that'll be coming out later on in the year. And I went through that scene, and I vaguely remember, I believe, like all of the takes and stuff are good, but I think we ended up using that first take that you did was the one we ended up going with. But I know the scene, which won't give away too much about it, but there's a scene with the character Dr. Monroe, which we were talking about before, just how hard you are on yourself sometimes. And that's one of my favorite scenes from the film, along with many others. And even with that, you were like, I could have done better. I was like, that's good. Like, everybody was like, you're excellent. You're so good.
Yeah, your own worst critic.
That scene in particular, that was a one take scene, because that scene in particular was a very difficult, if not probably the most difficult scene in the whole film, because it's, first of all, you wake up from being unconscious, so you don't know what in the world is going on, and you're in a straitjacket, and there's a doctor there, and I go from being like upset and what's going on to crazy to emotional to completely broken to back to crazy to completely broken and emotional again, to then thinking, oh wait, I have an idea here, like deep down in the mind, and completely doing a complete 180 to back to being a complete normal, innocent person, to flipping like that and going just pissed and crazy. It literally, it's a short scene, but there were so many emotional steps in that scene, so many different types of emotion that had to come out in that scene, that by the time we were done with it, I think I remember asking, like, did we get it? Is that good? Go watch it and make sure that's good, because that was so hard. I could do it again, but that was hard to do. And they said, no, it's great. we're good. And, but that was probably the hardest scene to do in the whole film, was that one.
So what was probably, this is for Crypto too, because I know you just watched it. What were, Katie, what was your favorite scene to perform? What was your favorite scene to write, Craig? And what was your favorite scene as a viewer? Caleb. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Okay. My favorite scene to shoot was the end. Because in the end, and I don't want to give it away for people who haven't seen it, but in the end was a good mix of, she's completely lost her ever-loving mind, and I've never seen somebody so pissed. So it's a mixture of, she's crazy, but she's going to kill something. And it combines. And so that scene there, being able to show that and elude that, and plus it had my favorite line in the entire film. In fact, it had one of my all-time favorite lines of anything I've ever shot. Top 3 lines.
You just like saying the F word.
You know
she just
what?
couldn't wait to say that.
You know what? I do, but it was the context that it was set in. It was how it was.
No, it's excellent. It's excellent.
The sentence itself, which was writing on Craig's part. It was the way that I said it. It was how I got to do it. That end scene, that final line, that was my favorite thing of the entire film to shoot, was that. So, Craig, you're up. Craig?
Did you lose Craig?
Are you gonna?
Oh, all right. I'll go next.
Okay, you go.
All right. My favorite scene, honestly, would be, and it's not to copy you, so I'm gonna try to be a little different about it. Your transformation, and the lighting or lack thereof at the time, the music that kicks in, when you're, again, try to be vague if I can, when you're sitting there and the camera kind of zooms in on you, there's another person in the room and they're doing their thing, but it zooms down on you and you're talking to them and they say a specific word or two, and then just your expression changes, and like, ooh, that is creepy. It's very well done.
It's probably the scene I mentioned, because I was kicking back in bed watching the movie, and that scene happened, and I like sat up. I was like, holy shit, she's scary. Like, that was my reaction to that. Like,
I like being scary. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Did we lose Craig?
Not Craig.
I think we lost his audio.
Yeah, I think he's muted somehow. We'll get him back at some point. But
Craig, we lost your audio. I'm gonna tell him we lost.
He'll be back.
Oh, he's gone. Yeah.
Oh, he'll come right back then.
He'll come back in. Well,
Yep.
Well, and my dog is trying to get his attention apparently. While he's away for a moment, what do you have like a certain criteria or anything you use when you select a role?
It has to be a script that's worth doing. I mean, honestly, like I hate to say that, but I get a lot of scripts, and I have read a lot of scripts that I feel like are good in their own right, but could use a little bit of work because some of it doesn't make sense, or there's too many loopholes in it. Or just to be quite honest, the dialogue is just bad. So for me, it's kind of like, okay, number one, is this going to be fun? I can handle some bad dialogue. I can handle some loopholes, but is this going to be fun? Does it make sense? Is it going to capture people's, are they going to want to view it? That's kind of the first thing. And then the second thing is this beneficial to me? Is this a good role for me? Is this something I can put on a demo reel? Is this something that I'm going to have some good footage out of? Is it worth the time missing work, away from family, all those kind of things. But I would say the number one, and I would think this is probably the number one for just about any actor that reads a script, is dialogue. If the dialogue can be worked with, if it's decent, if it's good, if it can be worked with a little bit, that's the first thing that most people look at. And if it is, then the second thing is usually, does it come around full circle? Does it make sense? And if it does, then usually there's no reason to not take the role.
Yeah, there were some instances where you actually turned to me and would say, I wouldn't say that. I'd say, okay, what would you say? And typically it was something similar, but it was just better dialogue. And I'm like, I'd say that. It sounds better.
I'll admit this. I'm the queen when it comes to changing dialogue, but I don't do it without permission, because I feel like if you're giving me this character and I'm going to embody this character and come up with this character in my mind and make this character me, I am the character. I wouldn't say that like that. Can I flop these two sentences, or can I use these couple of words instead of that? And as long as I've never, not one time have I ever had a director or a writer say, no, you can't do that. they've all said, yeah, go for it. And if it's something that they ended up not liking, then we would go back to how it was actually written. But I am the queen when it comes to wanting to flop some things around, but it usually does make more sense.
She's amazing at just improvising stuff too, because we had a scene, and I mean, she's done a lot of it, but and I just kind of let her do her thing. She's amazing at it. But even with the first Intrusion, I remember her and Teresa Lawrence that plays Callie. There's a scene where they're just sitting at the table eating eggs, and originally Callie was just supposed to eat the eggs, and Katie just reaches over and starts eating eggs off of her plate, and then Teresa immediately had this reaction, and she just kind of played off of it and had like kind of excuse me, kind of reaction. But it was great. It just gave that much more to that particular scene. Yeah, and then there's another scene where you just turn around and get a cup out of the cabinet and pour some water in it and just start drinking it while you're talking to somebody. But all that stuff looks so much more natural.
Yeah. So I would say, as far as like criteria to take a role, for me, it's really just like, is this going to be a fun thing to do? And is the dialogue workable or good? Those kind of come hand in hand,
Right. Well, not to backtrack too much, but we did lose Craig for a second, and we were talking about everybody's favorite scenes from the movie. Yeah. And as a writer, what was your favorite scene to write and see put on film?
I had so many favorite scenes. Probably three of my favorite are probably the last 3 or 4 close to the end of the film, just because Katie and Lee are just amazing together in both of those, and their performances and stuff they just knock it out of the park. I think it's some of Lee's best performances is those last few scenes and stuff that he does. I know Katie even turned to him at one point, was like, she's like, wow, you're kind of on the same page with me. Good job. And he really appreciated that. But there's another scene. I mean, there's just so many good scenes to the movie. I mean, we got so many other great actors and stuff that work with Katie. Sabrina Scott's amazing in the film. Just some of the scenes they have together. Sean Taiwan Francis is amazing in the film that plays Ethan. Jesse Rasmussen's amazing. He plays Nolan. Originally, that we were going to get Corey Feldman for the part, and that didn't work out. Because of a lot of fun. No, not because of us. But don't think we'll ever try to get him again. Let's put it that way. But no, I mean, I couldn't have been happier with Jesse. I mean, I think Jesse just knocked it out of the park. And one of my favorite scenes, I've had a couple critics love the film, but actually, I think one of their least favorite parts of scenes of the film is probably because it was a little bit too long. But the pizza scene that you and Jesse do together, where you're just eating pizza and stuff. But for me, I love that scene. I love the scene because I love the chemistry that you guys have together. Jesse's in a few scenes for the film, and I really wanted you to care about his character and get some more backstory. So he wasn't this typical character that showed up and is in only a few scenes of the film. I wanted you to really care about him and some of his background, and you guys just nail it with the chemistry and stuff. So I think people don't like watch other people eat pizza, maybe. I don't know what that is, but I got to defend that a little bit, just because for me that scene is initially that long, and then there's other scenes like the scene with you and Dr. Moreau, which is a good probably 4-minute scene. But I had to, as a writer, I had to believe it myself, and worked with a lot of the dialogue on stuff with that, because there was just scenes that I had to initially buy because I wanted the audience to buy it, because I did, because I could have easily just, thought of something where you see in every cliche horror film where the next door neighbor or somebody shows up, and it's like, hey, how's it going, or whatever, and then gets killed off a couple of scenes later, and then you just have an extra death or something in the film. But I just wanted all these characters in the movie to be people with, I mean, I don't know if you agree with me, Katie, but I can't think of another horror slasher. And if I can, it's probably on one hand where there's just many different characters with all these different backgrounds and ages and stuff to the characters, where you actually know and get a feel for each individual one as a person, you know?
Yeah, there's not very many. And I do agree. And I also agree that there are a few scenes that are a little too long, that could be, potentially shortened a little bit. But overall,
there was one scene in particular, I know what you're talking about, and I was like, we're not, me and my director Kyle,
yeah.
were like, we're not cutting that, Katie, sir.
Yeah,
we're like, that's staying in.
In my opinion,
that
still needs to be really gone.
One of those in particular was actually a lot of feedback I got from the first film about some more background with the character and stuff, and it was a lot of people asking me for that, so it was kind of like my explanation to kind of make it up to them, to make them happy, and give them some more feedback with that particular scene.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you guys, we took a lot of your time.
We appreciate it.
Do either of you have anything down the pipeline here soon, or?
I would like to give out a shout out, not only to, obviously go by Intrusion Disconnected and watch it, because it was a lot of fun to make. We put a lot of heart, soul, sweat, and blood and tears into that film. So by all means, and then I've got a couple other ones out. The Wicked Ones just came out not too long ago. You can buy it on Jonestown Films. It's not available on Amazon yet, but you can check it out, see it all over the place. And I've got a couple things coming up here before too long. Also 13 Slaves Till Christmas that I shot a couple months back. It's now available to buy. And I got a couple.
Cool. I want to see that one too.
But
that one looks good too.
COVID kind of put a damper on some things, but we're getting back into it. So I've got a few things in the works coming up. So.
Very cool. What about you, Craig?
I just want to promote Intrusion Disconnected. I put about 80 grand into it. Everybody else just, killed themselves mentally and physically and stuff for the film and stuff. I got other projects and stuff in the pipeline and stuff, and hope to get to work with Katie and some of the other cast and crew and stuff again in the future. But it's kind of taking it easy now and taking a break and stuff. It's nice to not actually have any deadlines with anything for once, and very, very stressful trying to meet that, get everything going and stuff. Very ambitious project that we did, wasn't easy to pull off. So hope people just continue and enjoy it. It's Intrusion Disconnected. It's on Amazon Video Theater on demand right now, and then probably late in the year, it'll be out on Blu-ray and DVD. And we're close to closing a deal with the theater chain right now. So hopefully, if that happens, then it might be playing some theaters around you soon.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Everybody definitely please go check that out. It's a hell of a watch. It's a really fun viewing.
Thank you.
So, can anybody find either one of you on social media or websites or anything?
You want to go first?
You can check out my website. It's KatieStewartActress.com. And I'm on Facebook. Katie Stewart. I have an actress page on Facebook as well. I have Instagram and Twitter, but I'm really never on them. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can. It's Katie Stewart 153. But I'm not on there very often. So, Facebook and my website, you can contact me through my website, KatieStewartActress.com.
People need to start booking you for more stuff now that COVID's going away.
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see her in more stuff.
I want to start seeing her in some bigger movies and stuff coming out.
Oh, that's something I'll never stop pushing for. So yeah. Hopefully one day.
It's just a matter of time, I think.
Thank you.
And me, if you want any info about any either one of the Intrusions films, you can go to SGL Entertainment and look up Intrusion Disconnected, Blood on the Reel, which I helped produce. You can also go to intrusionmovie.com or intrusindisconnected.com, and both the Intrusion films are there with like every imaginable link to all the different places at the store and everything else that you can pick it up. You can watch the first Intrusion on stuff like Amazon Prime for free, and a lot of other websites like apps and stuff like Tubi TV, closing a lot more distributors, closing more distribution deals and stuff. So looks like we'll probably be on some more stuff soon as well. And when the new one comes out, I think we'll be on quite a bit of stuff, because the first film we come super close to closing a cable deal that almost happened, like a big network deal. So this one's way better. So you could also follow me on Twitter if you want. Intrusion movie on Twitter. Easy to find.
Cool. Hey, well, we thank you for sharing the movie with us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It. Thank Katie for joining us and her performance. It was really good, and thank you for scaring me when you went pissed in the movie. And I think people will dig it. And thank you guys for hanging out on the Steve and Crypto show.
Thank both of you guys. Appreciate it. It's great.
Thank you for being on the show and talking with us.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time and really appreciate all your kind words, and I wish you guys the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, we'll see you later.
Thanks again to Katie Stewart and Craig Everett Earl for hanging out with us on the Steve and Crypto show. Be sure to check out our Buy Me a Coffee, buymeacoffee.com/SteveCrypto, and head over to Fright Rags and use the discount code SteveCrypto10 and get you some sweet horror stuff. And we've been the Steve and Crypto show. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you later this week with the Women in Horror episode. Thanks, guys.